Next month, Keir Starmer is going to go to the European Parliament and he's going to have negotiations relating to 3 overarching issues. Issue number 1 is the EU Defence Pact, and what that is the UK signing over decision-making capabilities on all things military to generalised EU policy. So, to all intents and purposes, we don't have a sovereign military anymore, and we're moving ever closer to an EU army. And of course, when everyone was laughing at the Brexiteers about that, well, nobody's laughing anymore. The second thing that he's going to sign us up to, or attempt to, is a net zero policy. So the EU has a net zero policy, and it has various things that it asks companies to comply with, etc., and everything that goes along with that. And Keir Starmer is looking to align the UK with those policies and sign us into agreement about that. Now, as bad as those other 2 things are, and I do think over time, Labour surrendering control of their net zero over to the EU, that's going to cost us on our energy bills, but that's a video for another time. And my short prediction on that would be over the next 2, 3, 4 years, it's probably going to add another 50% to the current state of our bills as they are today. So that's to come in the future. Who knows what those prices are going to go to. But the third issue is about trade. We've got the White House administration with Donald Trump at the moment, who's dying to do a deal with the UK for free trade. Keir Starmer's in a bit of a pickle. He's trying to straddle 2 things here. He's trying to play the US, while all the while we really do know what Keir Starmer wants. He doesn't want to deal with the US, he wants a deal with Europe. And Europe doesn't want the UK to take a deal with the US because we then will not be able to align standards with the EU. And so it's a straight up choice. Do we align with the fastest, or one of the fastest growing economies in the world, America, whose growth far outstrips ours and Europe's, who is a huge market and is going to enable us to be competitive and economically more secure, and it's going to reduce food prices, reduce the standard of living in the UK? Or does he sign us up to a dying EU economy? Now, ideologically, the Labour Party want to be signing us up to this EU trade deal, and that's the problem that Keir Starmer has. Now, I'm going to play you a little clip from a gentleman called Sebastian Gorka, and he's part of the White House administration, and he's going to give you a little breakdown of what he thinks. But then we're going to listen to an ex-Labour MP, a gentleman called Lloyd, and I think he's going to beautifully encapsulate the Labour Party's ideology when it comes to the straightforward question of, are we really going to do our best to make this deal with America? And you get a glimpse into how the ideological centre of the current Labour Party feels about the current situation.
And Seb, a lot of people this side of the pond, again, are kind of agog at the fact that our Prime Minister is cozying up to the European Union. There seems to be a new trade deal being agreed there in terms of import regulations, the European Convention on Human Rights taking control of Britain, and the Strasbourg courts dictating what we're allowed to import and the terms and conditions of that. Is there a possibility that that's going down badly in the United States? I mean, Donald Trump has been very outspoken about the European Union, saying that they're raping the United States. They're a mafia, a cartel designed to impact in the maximum manner and cause a huge amount of damage to the US. Is Keir Starmer getting closer to Brussels going to impact the same trade deal?
There's a reason that Nigel Farage is a friend of the current commander-in-chief in the Oval Office. There's a look, just look at the math. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Look at the math. Well, why do EU nations have a 20% tariff, and why does the UK get half of that? For a special reason. And of course, Brexit is seminal. Do we have MAGA? Do we have America first? Without Brexit happening before for that, paving the way for not populism, which has become sadly some pejorative-laden form, derisive phrase of late, thanks to the left. But what are we talking about? Representative government. When did 17.3 million Brits vote for something? Never until Brexit. And that's why we had 77 million Americans vote for President Trump, because they want a government which represents them. I think that is true for whichever side of the Atlantic we're speaking.
Okay, so quite a measured response there from Sebastian Gorka, speaking on behalf of the White House administration. So, as he said, look, Brexit was important. It started the MAGA movement. We really like your country. We want to do a free trade deal. What are you doing with all of this free speech stuff? Look, it's not a deal breaker. It is important, and we do want our values to align, but certainly it's not a deal breaker. But come on. Let's get ourselves back on an even keel here, and let's get back to some free trade, and let's stop locking people up for Facebook posts. And, I can't disagree with that. I don't think you are able to. But if you want to do, that's up to you. But in essence, what he said there was perfectly fair, perfectly balanced, and perfectly reasoned. And of course, this is an affront to a Labour ideologue. So this is the response that he got from Lloyd, the ex-Labour MP who repeatedly goes on television and loses his rag. It's to be understood that this is the heart of the ideology of Labour, and it's one of the reasons why we're going to abandon a free trade deal with America that would be good for our economy, good for the people of this country, good for food prices, good for jobs, and why we're going to be further tied into a dying European Union for the sake of an ideology.
Food for thought there. Let's get back to my panel. Let's get straight to Lloyd Russell Moore. There we go. The cards are on the table. Go with free speech, go with the US, or potentially pay the price.
Well, I have seen some of the biggest rollbacks of free speech in the US in the last few weeks than I have seen in an awful long time. I think what is happening there is extremely dangerous. Donald Trump instructing universities what to say and what to do.
But tell them not to be anti-Semitic.
No.
He's saying don't be anti-Semitic or defund.
That was not the case.
Seems reasonable.
People were highlighting the genocide that is going on against the Palestinian people, organised by the Israeli government. Not anti-Semitic. In fact, it's anti-Semitic to suggest that criticising.
Genocide.
No, it is a genocide.
Alleged
we know
genocide.
It's a genocide.
We've
seen it in our own eyes now. I previously did say alleged, but I think now it is very clear. And what we see in the US is if you speak out a different view on it, okay, that's fine. I'm happy for other people to say it's not genocide. That is free speech. But in the US, if you say it's genocide and you have a green card, not a citizenship, deportation. It is the most disgusting, revolting country that I have seen in a long time. And for them, Vance, to tell us that we should allow people to harass women outside abortion centres because he believes in some kind of abortion ban is absolutely disgusting. Do I want him touching women's abortion rights in this country? No. I want him to stick his nose out of our business. And what we say in this country is free speech. And what they say in their country is not free speech. What they're doing is clamping down on dissent, and it is disgusting.
But you haven't actually addressed the question.
And he's not going to address the question because the question is actually irrelevant, and quite a pertinent end to that from Mr. Kwarteng there, asking, but you're not talking about what we're talking about here, and this is the problem. And this is one of the reasons why this Labour Party is so dangerous for the people of this country. There is a deal available with America right now that is going to be great for Britain, great for food prices, which is going to help the people, the lowest end of the spectrum here. It's going to reduce the cost of food prices, reduce the cost of living, help everybody out. But what is Labour wanting to do? What is the Labour Party interested in? Well, they're interested in ranting on like this, but all they care about is taking us further and further into a dying European Union. What's going to happen? We're not going to have a free trade deal with America because, ideologically speaking, Labour doesn't want one. We're going to move closer and closer to the EU, and our country is going to move further and further into economic degradation because of these lunatics here from the Labour Party. Thanks very much for your time.